Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's joining us today. This is Pada Youth's first fireside chat of the season for the Dream to Travel Festival. Thank you very much for joining us from wherever you are from in the world. I am Alethea, I am Pada Youth's ambassador, and the fireside chat that we're going to have today is a cozy, casual conversation, kind of like an informal interview. It's not, as one of my colleagues thought, a firing squad where we kind of rapid fire questions at our guests. So it's going to be cozy, casual, just a moment where we can get to know each other and hear each other's thoughts and opinions. So our very first guest joining us all the way from Jordan is Dr. Taleb Rifai. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Taleb. Dr. Taleb is the former Secretary-General of the World Tourism Organization, UNWTO. He served for 2 consecutive terms from 2009 till January 2018. Dr. Taleb has an extensive background in international and national public service, the private sector, and academia, which means he's basically done it all. So thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Taleb. Would you like to start us off with a few words?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very excited about being here, especially talking to you, very fine ladies. I'm also very happy to be with PATA. PATA has been a very special organization for me all along. I know Mario Hardy, I know his lovely wife who's with us. I know all the history of PATA. PATA is a wonderful place to be in. Your association with PATA is very, very important. Thank you so much for having me. You can get started anytime you want.
Thank you, Dr. Taleb. So kind of you to join us, and we're really appreciative of it. We also have today with us Ms. Karma Chan, who is our Pada Youth co-host for today. Karma, can you please introduce yourself and get us started?
Sure, thank you, Ali. So I'm Karma. I am tuning in here from Vancouver in Canada. I actually do work at PATA now remotely, but I first started off just being a student chapter member and then worked my way up into being an intern, actually working at PATA headquarters. And that turned into a full-time job until I had to go back to school, and now I'm studying between the UK and Canada. So when I'm not researching, I'm just learning about tourism. And so with that, it's a little intimidating right now with this background in tourism to be speaking with somebody like yourself, Dr. Taleb. And I know I speak for several people as well, because you've led the UNWTO for a number of years, and it's kind of a big deal. So I just need to ask, before we start getting some advice from you, is what do you do when you're intimidated? Are you even ever intimidated?
Of course, everyone has to pass through a period of life in his time to be intimidated about something. But I don't think you should be intimidated at all, because life is like this. You know, you need to be confident about yourself. That's the most important part. There's nothing intimidating about me particularly. I'm a very, very, very simple person. I think I got where I got simply by accident. I'll talk about that later. But you're our karma. You know that. So everything has a destiny to it. Now, intimidation could be a deliberate act from somebody to somebody else. Never be intimidated. Trust me on this one. Because if you're intimidated, you're confused. If you're confused, you don't know what to do. If you don't know what to do, you're not getting anywhere. Some people intentionally intimidate you, but you shouldn't be intimidated. I think self-confidence, just keep telling yourself, I'm good, I know what I'm doing. I don't need to be intimidated. Please don't. I'm just a simple person with you guys. Thank you so much.
That's really good advice, to just know who you are and like be sure of yourself and be sure of where you want to go, and just don't let other people kind of throw you off if they're intimidating you. Thank you. We wanted to know as well, what exactly does the Secretary General of UNWTO do? How does your morning look like, and is there an average day in the life of a Secretary General?
When I got into this job, I didn't know what I was getting into, really. It just came by accident like that. So every morning you go to the office, there's something that happens. You don't prepare yourself for anything. You just have to be sure that what your capabilities are can carry you from one day to another. Every day there is something going on in the office. But basically, my job was to connect the governments of the world, to make sure that I am personally connected with each and every minister of tourism all over the world. Sometimes even higher than ministers of tourism, prime ministers of heads of states. It's very, very important to keep the family together, family of tourism together. That's what I always had in mind. I had in mind is that my job is to bring people together. If I can do that, then the best can come out of people. Don't need to make so much effort in this. Really. It was a very, very interesting 9 years. I really enjoyed every minute of it. Thank you.
But if your job was to bring people together, what was the hardest part of your job, if you don't mind me asking?
Different personalities. Because one of the most difficult part is the fast turnover of public officials. I'll be establishing a relationship with a certain minister. After that, we become friends. Invite him to my home. Comes to Madrid. I go to see him. We become very personal, which is very, very important. Then suddenly he goes. Somebody else new comes. You have to start all over again. That's a very tiring part. But otherwise, it was fine. Many. I left with many friends, which is a capital that I carry with me now. After retirement, that's what's left for you. Relationships and the network of relationships to establish throughout your work.
That's really insightful. I never actually thought about that, about how even if you make one contact, they don't necessarily stay in that position. But I mean, of course, that's what happens in the real world. So
the important thing is to remain friends, even with those that leave office. Even those that leave office, you have to be humanly good with everybody. The most important part about tourism is to build the family together, knit it together, keep it as one big family.
Yeah.
I agree. The tourism community really is a community.
It is.
Yeah, it really becomes about connecting with each other as humans. Like you just connect with each other from one human to another, and that's really what it's about.
Tourism is a wonderful industry. I don't know if you've read some of what I've written. I always believe that human beings have to travel. Travel brings people together, brings open minds, open eyes, makes us better people when we travel. We start seeing things that we haven't seen before. When you go to a certain place, you have dinner with somebody, with a family, or with any friend. You share their stories, you share their dreams. You can never have any negative feelings about them. I love everybody in this world. I think all cultures of the world deserve a break. They deserve to be known, deserve to be experienced. And the only way to do that is to rub shoulders with each other. That's what we need to do.
I agree. There's something really magical about just traveling somewhere and meeting new people and seeing them in their environments. And it's something very different than what you're used to and where you come from. But at the same time, it's just another perspective, and they're just humans.
You always have to keep in mind that it's people that matter. It's not the place. Place is a combination of people and the environment, as you said correctly. It's people that make a difference. People are different all over the world. But at the end of the day, they're human beings. They're all mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers. They all have the same feelings, the same things all over the world.
Yeah. I really love what you said. All cultures deserve to be known. All cultures deserve to be discovered. And I wanted to ask you about Jordan, because you're from Jordan, and it's one of the places that I've dreamed about going to all my life. It's on the top of my travel bucket list. Could you share with us some of the hidden gems that are your favorite hidden gems of Jordan? What's your favorite thing about living there? Yeah.
I'm a very proud Jordanian, but everyone should be proud of where he's from. No one talk about Jordan as if it's different from any place else in the world. It is different to me. It shouldn't be different to you. You should be proud of what you have. It's never what you have, it's what you do with what you have that matters at the end of the day. So basically, Jordan is a wonderful place because I lived here, because my memories are here, because my stories are here. The people around here are wonderful people as well. I can speak about this forever. But then everybody can say, I also have good people. I also have beautiful mountains. I also have beautiful seas, beautiful rivers. So it's never brag about your country, but be proud of it. Jordan is a wonderful place. Jordan is a place where history crossroads. Jordan was in the middle of the ancient empires between Mesopotamia and Egypt, old empires, between the Arab Peninsula and Byzantium, the north. So all the caravans of the world passed through Jordan. Petra, for example, I'm sure you've heard of Petra. Petra is a caravan stopover. It's a place where everybody stopped. It's a wonderful place. It's a whole city cut in rocks, red rocks. I think nobody should go about the journey of life without visiting Petra once in a lifetime, because it's a story that will never be repeated again. Petra, the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea. I was yesterday at the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is the lowest spot in the world. It's more than 400 meters below sea level. The oxygen there is wonderful because, the lower you go, the more the oxygen is. The higher you go on mountains, the less the oxygen is. So when you go there, you feel healthy already. We're thinking now of doing it for recovery of coronavirus patients. If you had the coronavirus, you can come to Jordan, come to the Dead Sea. The hotels there are opening their spas. It's a beautiful wellness place, wonderful place. Every place in Jordan is beautiful. Jordan is a big museum because everybody passed through there. Anybody in the world you can think of, even Genghis Khan was here. Everybody in the world passed through Jordan to go somewhere else or to stay here. So that's why I love Jordan. But mainly I love Jordan because I'm Jordanian. That's what matters best. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful picture that you painted of your country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So one part of sustainability, tying into what you're saying, is the preserving of the beautiful sites for future generations. And we've noticed that you worked with UNESCO to help preserve Jordan, especially with the archaeological park.
That's right.
So what motivated you to bring this project to life?
Let me start with some principles and then I go down to the archaeological part. Sustainability is not just about preserving things, in other words, freezing them the way they are. Sustainability is about, at the end of the day, it's about sustaining life on Earth. Life would not be sustained if we don't grow, if we don't progress. So I'm not at all for the idea of keeping everything and freezing everything as it is. This is not preservation in a dead sense. It's not sustainability. Sustainability is about being open in your mind, move things to a different level, a higher level, but keep the essence of them as it is. Sustainability is not just about the environment, it's about everything else in life. Social sustainability, economic sustainability are very important. The important thing is to know that life on Earth must be sustained. That's what sustainability is all about. Now, with regard to the archaeological part in Petra, in the year 2000, I was still minister in charge of tourism and antiquity of Jordan. And there was this big archaeological park of Petra. Petra is a big city, really. It was open, it had no boundaries. Anybody can go in and out. The Bedouins that lived in that area were living inside the archaeological caves. So there was no feeling of this is an archaeological park. And I understood this. I understood it very well. Because the people living around there never thought this as a very precious place. This is their home to them. The cave is a home. But now, UNESCO came in and said, no, they must leave, must preserve it as a park. I resisted that. But then I had to do it because of the value of what we had. And I knew that the people living there were not going to sustain it for the future generations the best way it could. So it took me 2 years. I refused to evict the people there. I said the people must leave voluntarily. And they left voluntarily in return for some services, some issues that they had to do there. Because I wanted to keep the feeling that this is their city. This is not just an archaeological park where people from other planets come. Blonde people with blue eyes come in here. They're treated like gods while we are sitting around here doing nothing. It's a very important thing. The important thing is to connect the archaeological part to the local community. It was the most important thing I did. So it took me 2 years. UNESCO was very fed up of me at the end. I told them I'm never going to evict anybody. People will have to leave voluntarily. We had to build houses for them, better houses outside of the archaeological park. They left, but they kept their rights. Now only the people in the surrounding areas are responsible for making tours for the tourists, for the visit. They're the only ones that can operate horses and donkeys inside. They're the only ones that can become tour guides. That's the only way to keep the possession and the feeling of the people that this is their city. It's not anybody else's. So that's how they grew up with, To them, this city was discovered in 1892. But to them, this city has never been discovered. It's always been there for them. When we say discovered, it means discovered to the Western world. That's not a discovery, really. To them, that's what I mean. Thank you.
I think that's really beautiful that you managed to find a balance and respect of the people who were originally living there and the people who have that beautiful Petra as their home. And I think you've done it in such a sensitive way that a lot of people can learn from, and that's just a beautiful example of how we should be moving forward in terms of sustainability.
People are what matter most. Stones are stones. People matter better. And I think people will cherish their stones, cherish their stories. You know, culture is a story of mankind. Tourism is the publisher and distributor of that story. So we have to preserve the story to be able to share it with other people. But don't forget that it's people that matter. It's people that made these stones. It's the fathers and the grandfathers of the people that are living there, that built Petra. Very important to keep that in mind all the time.
Thank you, Dr. Taleb. That's a
You're welcome.
beautiful answer, that people are important and stones are stones.
Definitely.
Yep. Very good wisdom. Thank you for that. So one area that I'm personally very interested in, and I've noticed that it's the space that you've worked within too, is in alleviating poverty and promoting peace. And so tourism has been said to be a single or one tool that can do that, to alleviate poverty and promote peace. But with all of the issues going on today in the global world, are we any closer to reaching these goals?
Every day we're closer than the day before. I'm an optimist by nature. I have to warn everybody here. I believe the world is getting better and better every day, even though sometimes we have some problems. There's an opportunity that comes out of every crisis. You know that in Chinese, the word crisis and the word opportunities are almost one word. And I believe in that. I think that the world is getting better. The world today is better than the world yesterday. And the world tomorrow is going to be better than the world today. That's for sure. Now, how do we do that with tourism? Tourism is a very human activity. It's one of the most fascinating human activities that mankind has ever seen. I said how it creates peace because when people rub shoulders with each other, all barriers or stereotypes fall apart. You know, the world is passing through so many deficits. There's a deficit of education, deficit of technology, deficit of income. But one most important deficit is one of understanding and tolerance. I think tourism is the one that can bridge this in the best way possible. So it's a powerful peace builder. How does it elevate from poverty? It elevates from poverty when we do it the way I was describing Petra. For example, if we ignore the local community, if we start building and developing sites, just assuming that people are going to be enjoying it from outside the country, come there, and no matter what the people there feel or what the people there are benefiting, that's not going to work. It will never work. A country that's not enjoyed by its own people will never and should never be enjoyed by any foreigner. So it's a local activity. In the Dead Sea area, for example, in Jordan now, we have many hotels. I've been fighting them because they have their walls very high. You have people working from the local community around there in these hotels. These people go and come every morning by buses from their homes to these hotels. Now, every day, these people come in contact with some of the rich people of the world that come there to enjoy their time. They go back to their own houses and they find that difference in economic standards. That's not right. So what we need to do is the following. We need to ensure that these all-inclusive resorts are opening up to the local community. I encourage, for example, the people that own these hotels to make lunch every two days a week, Mondays and Tuesdays, in the village. Let the visitors go and interact with people. That's the only way that people would feel that these visitors are their visitors, they're not somebody else's visitors. So that's the way, and by doing that, you create more jobs. Because when these people went and had lunches, for example, in cities, villages around these resorts, the people in those villages were actually setting up the villages, big tents for lunches. There are people that were selling some of the handicrafts, the people that are interacting with tourists. They gain money. They have their own way of creating their own jobs. Jobs are not just by big corporations employing people from the community. Jobs is about big, corporate social responsibility today. It's not about sharing your capital, not about paying money to the local community. It's about sharing your business. That's what it is. You have to share your business, and sharing your business means you have to encourage your visitors to go visit these communities, interact with them, lower the walls between the local community and the surrounding community with the tourists. That's the best way of alleviating poverty.
That's very, wow, that's very thought-provoking. And
Thank you.
I think a few of us can already think of a few different places around the world where these principles could definitely be applied. There are definitely some places that apply these principles a little bit more than others, and just hopefully they can, the other places can do the same too.
Especially in developing countries. In developing countries, we tend to cherish and idealize and sometimes make our visitors divine, which is not right. Visitors are people. They come to learn from you. You don't treat them like they're very special. They're your guests. They're here to share with you. They're not here for you to just treat them as gods. That's very important. That's the only way you could benefit and interact with people.
Yeah, I think that element of cross-cultural exchange and cross-cultural interaction makes us better humans as we travel.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so I really like that was emphasized as well. I do want to ask, so because of the circumstances of COVID-19 and how COVID-19 has changed the world we live in, everyone right now needs to adapt. For those of us who have been students of tourism for the last few years, and for those of us who are on the cusp of graduation, but right now we are facing a super tough job market, how can we adapt our education and our experiences to this brand new environment? Could you please dispense some wisdom to us youths?
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, you have to believe that what you're doing is important. Now, travel has stopped, therefore tourism has stopped now. But tourism will come back, travel will come back, because travel is not anymore just a luxury. It's not anymore just a European, British, or Swiss or German traveler that goes to India or China or Asia and comes back and writes a book about the place he visited. It's about people. 1.7, 1.8 billion people are crossing international borders every year today. And in doing that, they're creating so much energy. It's a people's movement. I would even make it a people's right. My right to travel, my right to enjoy the world, my right to do business, my right to education, my right to medical care, my right to meet other people. It's a human right. If we think about it this way, then there's a future for tourism. But what tourism is going to be coming out of COVID-19? I don't think we should look back at the old model again. It's a new model altogether. It's a new norm, as they say, because this COVID-19 has uncovered so much of our weaknesses. It's a new model with new opportunities. For example, the issue of international tourism versus local and regional tourism is a very important one. Every country now is looking at reviving regional and local tourism. Why? Because they don't have the option of getting international tourism. But that's something they had to do anyhow before. Because as I said, no country can and should be enjoyed by any people before it's enjoyed by its own people. So it's an opportunity now to focus on something that we should have done a long time ago. And to promote local tourism now. I'm encouraging each and every one of you to start thinking of local and regional tourism. That's step one. Then we think of international tourism. You know, in the United States and Europe, 70% of tourism is local tourism. In China, for example, look how many people travel during the Chinese New Year inside China. It's much more than the people that come into China. It's very important, but we don't tend to make focus on that sector. It's a very important sector. We need to speak the people's language. We need to devise different protocols, different agendas, different itineraries for local people. Local people cannot be treated like any foreigner. They know the country. They need a new excitement. They need to go out with their families. They need to attend festivals. They need to attend sports activities. They need to go to cities, enjoy shopping, so on and so forth. So I'm advising each and every one of you now to start looking at local and regional tourism. By regional, I mean immediately connected to you as a country by borders. That's the trend for the future. Then you start thinking of international tourism, because it's not going to happen tomorrow, neither the day after. It will take a little while.
That's some very good advice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just turning the conversation back to you a little bit, Dr. Taleb, what would it take to become the next Secretary-General of the UNWTO? I think that's a question that a lot of the youth are interested in finding out.
You have to have a passion for tourism. You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to believe that tourism is a force for good. It's a powerful human activity. That's number one. Number two is do what you can do. Be yourself. People will notice you. You know, unfortunately, many of these international positions are done by elections. Elections are governed by governmental politics. But I found out that even government politics are run and affected very much by personal touches. I was running the first time against very, very powerful candidates. Each one of them had much more money, much more abilities than I did. But I was able to connect with them, with my clients, with my constituency on a personal level. So that's how I got elected. So I think what you need to do is be yourself, be passionate about your job, and be active in the international scene as much as you can. Don't think just of your country. Use your country as a model place, but start to think of your neighbors, of others. In Africa, you should think of all of Africa. In Asia, you should think of all of Asia. In America, you should think of all of America, so on and so forth. And that's how you become noticed. If you become noticed, then you can present yourself when the right time comes. It's important. I did not plan to become Secretary-General of UNWTO. I came Minister of Tourism by accident, by the way. I don't know if I've ever told you that story, but
could you tell us
very
a
interesting. Of course. I was minister in charge of communication and media. I was spokesman for my government in Jordan. I was sitting in the office of the Prime Minister one day, briefing him on a press conference that was supposed to take place there that afternoon, just telling him what are the expected questions that I think will be asked by the journalists, so he'd be prepared for it. He gets a phone call from the then Minister of Tourism at the time. I knew the relationship between both of them was not a very good relationship. So I was listening there. His face got red and blue again. He just hung up the phone and said, I don't want him anymore. Will you take the Ministry of Tourism? I said, what do I know about tourism? I knew nothing about tourism. No, it's nothing, don't worry. It won't take much of your time. That's how the government used to look at tourism. After three months, I came back to him and I told him, look, you know that thing that you told me, it's nothing, it's not taking much of your time. It's taking 80% of my time. I want to stick to it. He was a bit taken back. He said, oh, I didn't think that way. So that's how it is. You need to be very, very yourself. You need to have passion. You need to believe that what you're doing is important, not just for yourself, for your country, for mankind. You need to have a bigger mission if you want to be Secretary-General. The mission is to make this world a better place. It's a very important thing. Thank you.
That's so inspiring. Wow.
Oh.
So before we wrap it up, we have a very important question to ask you. So for a long time, outer space has been called the final frontier. And with everything that's been going on right now, it might not be that far off to have space tourism. What are your thoughts about this potential future area of travel?
I've been asked this question many times. To be honest, I'm not very enthusiastic about it. I tell you why. Because I think travel is about people. If I'm going to go outside, not see anybody, no people are living out there, what am I going to do? Just take some photographs, come back, and show my friends? It doesn't enrich my experience. So yes, we're going to go to outer space. It's going to be now for the more capable persons because it's very expensive. But no, I don't think it will be substituting our own earthly tourism because it's about people out there. I believe in that completely. Unless there are people living in the outer space, which is something I don't know. Nobody knows now. But unless there's an interaction between people and people, I don't think going to the outer space would add much to me as a person. To add to my knowledge, to add to my experience. I brag about it. I say I was in the outer space. But then, one of my very good friends is a prince from Saudi Arabia called Sultan, Prince Salman, Prince Sultan. He's the older brother of the older son of the king, current king. He was an astronaut 30 years ago. He went to the outer space once in 1980s, I think. I was telling him, I was with him, he's a very good man, very good friend. I asked him, what's the most important experience that you had when you were outside? He said, it's meeting with the people that were on the crew with me. One from America, one from Russia, one from Hungary, so on and so forth. We got together. We became one human race. Because when we were up there, we first were looking at each country by country. Oh, that's Saudi Arabia. This is Hungary. This is the United States. This is Africa. This is Asia. Then 2-3 days after that, we stopped seeing each country by country. We started to see the whole globe. Started to see the whole ball as one thing. That's the most important thing about going to outer space. The connection that you have with your own home planet is more important than going to other planets and seeing something new. I'm sorry, that may be disappointing to some people, but I'm really not that excited about it. I'm excited about being able to go and connect with other people on that trip, but not to go there and just be there by yourself.
I think it's very clear that for you, you are a people-centric leader. Like, you care about other human beings more so than anything else, and that's very clear in everything that you've said today. And I think it's fine that if not all of us get to go to space, that's fine.
Of course. Yeah.
So now we're going to move on to a Q&A session with the audience.
Please.
We have 10 minutes for this. And so everyone who's in the audience right now, if you guys have a question for Dr. Taleb, we're more than happy to answer them. Please use the Q&A function in Zoom to ask your questions. And to get us started, I have...
Can I ask you a favor, please?
Yes.
I want whoever asks a question to tell me who he is, where he's from. Tell me a little bit about themselves. Thank you.
Sure. So if you want to ask a question to Dr. Taleb, please use the Q&A function. Introduce yourself. Who are you? Where you're from? Let's see where our international family from PARA and from the international youths are. Yeah, we have a really big community, and it's always nice to kind of be able to see where everyone is in this world as well. Yeah.
Of course.
While we wait for some of the questions to come in, I have a question that didn't make the original cut of questions that we asked, but what is your mantra or the words of wisdom that you kind of live by? So for me as a community builder, my mantra is help people become the person that they want to be. And I was wondering, what is yours?
Make this world a better place.
That's a good mantra.
Yeah, we should give the world to our children better than the way we received it from our parents. That's definitely.
Karma, do you have a mantra that you want to share with us?
I have a few. What's the one? It's a really famous one. It's not really so much a mantra, but just a saying, not all who wander are lost.
That's right. That's right. Wandering is a very, very human feeling, a human aspect. And I think we should cherish that. The more wonder and curiosity is very, very important. Until some questions come, I want to share with you a very small story from Asia. I was in Bangladesh one day. I was taken by the Minister of Tourism at the time, who was a very fine man, to a city called Chittagong, which is down southeast on the borders with Myanmar. He told me he wanted to show me that city. We took a helicopter, we landed there. The helipad was about 4 or 5 kilometers away from the hotel where we were supposed to stay. It took us 2 hours to get from the helipad to the airport, to the hotel. Why? Because the streets there were full of people. People were just sitting on the streets. Students were studying under the lights of the streets. They didn't have light in their own homes. Women were cooking in the middle of the street. It was full of people, so we couldn't move very fast. Or anybody would have looked at that. The minister was apologizing, saying, I'm sorry, it's a chaos. Say, I don't see chaos. I really didn't see chaos. I saw energy, I saw activity. I enjoyed every scene. Wherever I looked around, I saw a little story. little boy jumping behind another boy and trying to get his book from him. And then the girl coming behind the lady, eating from some of her food. This is well. When you travel, you start seeing things in a different light. You don't see the bad things. You only see the good things about people. There's no chaos. There is energy. It was beautiful, really.
Yeah. We have questions in the Q&A. Thank you so much for that story. I think it's
No
so
problem.
lovely to be able to see authenticity in that setting as well. Yeah.
Yes.
So our question is from Dr. Mario Hardy, your good friend.
Of course.
So from Dr. Mario Hardy, dear Taleb, this is Mario. Who is the one person you haven't met that you would wish to meet? And the one place you haven't visited yet that you would wish to visit?
I'll answer the second part first because it's easier. There's no place that I did not visit, unfortunately. So I visited every place in the world. I think I did. Yes. Looking at the map that I have in front of me here, there's no
That's
place
amazing.
I did not go to. Didn't go to any. There is no country in the world that I did not visit. The person that I wanted to meet really is Nelson Mandela. I was this close of meeting him because he was married to a lady from Mozambique. I was visiting in Mozambique, and we were supposed to see him there after he finished his presidency. But then we couldn't go there because he had something else to do. He had to run away. That's the only thing I miss, because Nelson Mandela to me is an icon. He's a wonderful man. You know, I always remember when he says, I never lose. I either win or learn, which is a very important motto. And Nelson Mandela is a great man, and I wish I had met him. Other than that, I met every person, and you can see the pictures behind me. I met everybody that mattered in the world in the last 10, 12 years. Thank you, Mario.
That's really impressive. I'm just paying attention to your picture wall now. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, the picture wall behind you. Oh,
Well,
wow.
you could see it's a big wall.
Oh, wow. This is really cool.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
my life.
we have one question from Song Wood. He's based in Bangkok. In terms of city planning, what should destinations prioritize in order to accommodate the future of tourism?
Again, my answer is people. Now, in cities, many cities tend to build a lot of infrastructure. Infrastructure that does not contain any walking places, any places for people to walk, interact, places that people could go to restaurants and shops. It's a dead place. Tourists are going to places where they interact with people. The city must be full of life. That's the city. I'm an architect in my original training and an urban designer. I've always believed that the most important part of any design of cities or planning of cities is to create hubs, places where people can actually be crowded and meet. I know in Corona-19 now we don't have this social distance, but that's not going to last forever. We still need to see each other, even if we're far away. The more crowded the places are, the better they are and the more interesting they are. That's what I think are the keys for urban design that attracts people.
So designing cities that can have spaces for people to kind of interact, kind of be in, livable cities, walking cities, cities where don't push people indoors, but rather have spaces out in the public spaces for people to
That's
do
right.
discourse and interact with each other, right?
Streets,
Yeah.
piazzas, open spaces. These are what matters in cities.
Open
The
spaces.
space is more important than the building itself. Buildings are there to serve the space, not for their own sake.
Yeah, I do think that's so important, because open spaces actually give us opportunities to meet each other on the street and like see each other as fellow citizens of the same country. And sometimes it's not always possible, but it's an opportunity to kind of engage with each other as citizens, and that's something that doesn't always happen in cities.
I always bring London as an example. You know, when you go to London, you become a Londoner immediately. You start standing in lines where in your own country maybe you get fed up of that. you don't mind the weather, you carry umbrellas, you become a Londoner. Because London has its own character. It did not change just to please others. I wish every city was like that. When you go to a city, you should become part of that city. When you go to Bangkok, you should become a Bangkok person. When you go to Malaysia, you should become a Malaysian. When you go to Hong Kong, you should become a Hong Konger, so on and so forth. And the people there can do that in open spaces, because open spaces allow people to interact with each other. They put on their shops, their products, their everything, their food. I love to eat in popular places, not in fancy restaurants when I go to places.
Okay, maybe we have time for one last question before we have to end this session. So this question is a really real question. It's forcing us into territory where it makes everyone a little bit uncomfortable, because the question is about racism. So this is Jiangyu Zhang from China, studying at the University of Queensland. What can we do to keep international tourism thriving under issues such as racism, anti-globalization, and other forms of discrimination, which has just really blown up this year? What would your response to that be?
I think I want to go back to what I said before. The world is a better place now than it was years ago. You know, I still remember the days where African Americans used to sit on the back side of the bus and only white Americans were sitting on the front side of the bus. Today, we're seeing what's happening in the United States, see what's happening in other parts of the world. So the consciousness and the equality of people, the quality that people are the same thing. We all came out of Africa after all. I think we should remind that. Everybody came out of East Africa. I want you all to look at a program called The Journey of Man. It's a BBC program. It was produced 10 years ago. It's a beautiful program. It shows how we all came out of the Bushmen. We just traveled 50,000 years ago in search of food. We walked until we reached Asia, till we reached India, then we reached Australia, then we went up to China. From India, some people went to Europe, and so on and so forth. So we need to remind ourselves that we're all one human race, after all. Our shapes may be different, our looks may be different, but that's nothing at all. And I think that tourism can contribute to that, can contribute to bringing people together. Because when you travel to places, you cannot have any stereotype about any negative stereotypes about any place. Let's say that you want to go to Nigeria and you're a racist American, whatever that may be. I'm sorry to use this term. If you go to Nigeria, you see the people there, you see mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and children playing around. You can't go back to your own country and be a stereotyping about Africans altogether. It breaks down all stereotypes, makes us better people. So believe in that. I believe in that wholeheartedly. I'm African. I may not look like one, but I'm African. That's why I'm working with African Tourism Board now. Very active there. Africans receive me and accept me as an African. I was born in Egypt. I never was living in Egypt. I never was an African. My color skin is not African. Typical. My eye colors are different. But I'm African at heart. That's what matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer. I think it's true. We are all human at the end of the day, and humans are more similar than we think. And even though racism is a difficult topic, but I think so much things are changing right now in the world, and we can
It's
all
a better world.
Yeah, we can all be the change that we want to see, right?
That's right. That's right.
We should always be optimistic about the future. We should always push towards change.
Yes.
So
no, racism is not just about racism. But also discrimination between men and women. You know that 100 years ago, women even in Switzerland were not allowed to vote. Today, that's unquestionable. Today, we still have discrimination against women, but it's a different stage. We're going into a different world. It's a better world, definitely. Be optimistic.
We've come such a long way in such a short time.
Yes, yes, we've accomplished a lot as human beings.
So, Dr. Taleb, we've come to the end of our 45-minute session. It's been an amazing session with so much wisdom from you. And I just want to thank you for being here today, for spending time with us today, and for answering all our questions. It was really great to have you.
Yeah, I don't call it wisdom, I call it travel. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Travel
much,
more.
Dr. Taleb. I've
Be a
learned
better
so
people.
much.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Karma. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Alithia.
Bye.
Bye.
So
Bye.
before we end the session, I just wanted to thank our destination partners. Sorry, one moment. Could we share our
Sure.
screen, please? Okay, so before we end the session today, I just wanted to thank our destination partner for this week, Tourism Authority of Thailand. Thank you so much for being part of the Dream to Travel Festival, as well as our sponsors and media partners for the Dream to Travel Festival. We really appreciate your support. And up next, we actually have an entire slew of events happening next week, where I'm going to call in my colleague, Paul.
Hello.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Lee.
Hi, Paul.
Where are you from, Paul?
I'm originally from the US, but I'm based here in Bangkok. I'm a little too close.
You're a lucky man.
Well, thank you, Dr. Taleb, for joining us today. And I just wanted to come in and just talk about what's happening next week. So can we?
Look at the camera.
Oh, this one.
This
this
camera.
One. Oh, let's go to the screen one. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
We have two different cameras in this room, so I didn't know which one we were using today. So I'm gonna just give you a little highlights of what we have next week on the Dream to Travel Festival. So first up, on June 29th, we have a live underwater adventure park experience. This is hosted by Tourism Malaysia, who is our destination partner next week under the theme Courage. Following that, actually, this is a live session with Miss Azua Shafi, a Malaysian free diving champion with over 30 national records. After that, we have, on that same day, on Monday, we have a live experience. It's the La Pedrera Casa Mila, an interview with David Font and Dr. Mario Hardy. David Font is the managing director of the Catalan Tourism Board. So he's gonna just have a conversation with Mario, and then we'll have a live experience looking at these two attractions there in Catalan. Then we'll have a virtual meet and greet with some Catalonian tourism providers. And then on the next day, on Tuesday, the June 30th, we'll begin the morning with our Dream to Travel Forum on Courage. We have, of course, Tourism Malaysia. Dr. Musa will be giving some opening remarks, and he'll be sitting down with BBC presenter Sharonjit Lay, who's joined us at previous events. Then we'll have a panel discussion talking about the Courage to Fly. Tourism Malaysia will be joined by IATA and AAPA, which is the Association of Asia Pacific Airlines. So please do join us on Tuesday, June 30th, and that's 10 a.m. All times listed are in Bangkok times. Right after that, the slide said it's a virtual coffee break, but actually it's a chance to meet and greet with the speakers. So you'll have a chance to actually talk to some of the speakers that have stayed on after the forum. Later that afternoon, we have a live experience at the Ma Mary Cultural Village. It's a live experience. It's at 3 to 4 p.m. So please do join us. Then on Wednesday, we have, in the morning, there's nothing. So we do encourage everyone to visit the digital showroom. Very easy to get to. It's, and they can send a link to you in the chat if you want to see some of our exhibitors and see the products that they currently are showcasing, some of the new products they're showcasing.
And just a reminder, the digital showroom is available 24/7 for everyone to interact with our buyers in the showcase. So please check out the digital showroom. You can go to the website, the Dream to Travel website, and all the links are there for you to check out the showroom, as well as to sign up for any of the events, live events, forums, student events that you can see on the website.
Why don't you talk about the next student event then?
Yeah, so the next event that we have on Wednesday is the PATA Student Chapter Networking event, for a moment for our student chapters to kind of meet and come together as a community to see how each other is doing during this crisis and form relationships for potential collaborations in the future.
All right,
Yeah.
so after that, if you like scary stories, then join us on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Bangkok time. It's Dark Tourism in Malaysia. Visit the War Museum in Penang and the Penang Ghost Festival.
Oh, that sounds terrifying.
Yes, watch it with the lights off. And then the next day on July 2nd.
We should bring Dracula to that event. Count Dracula. Yes.
Well, I'm sure it'll be a scary experience for all.
Can you imagine if you see a ghost on the screen as the life experience is happening?
People jumping out of the seats. Hopefully nobody gets hurt. And then, then we're moving to Thursday, July 2nd. We'll begin the day with a Khmer cuisine cooking class. This is by
3 universities based in Cambodia, and they're coming together to show you traditional Cambodian cuisine. So please join us for that. It's going to be an amazing time where we have the chefs all in the kitchen, and we're going to find out whether it's true that too many chefs, what's that phrase?
Spoil the Pot.
Spoil the pot, yeah. But I'm sure it won't happen. So yeah, join us for that session.
And then that afternoon at 2 p.m. Bangkok time, we have a knowledge session, which is it's a webinar, a basic webinar. We're talking about sustainable tourism after COVID-19. And this is, again, working in partnership with Tourism Malaysia. So do join us then. That will be followed by, of course, a coffee break, but it's actually a chance to meet and greet with the speakers. And then Friday is our next Fireside Chat. They're a good friend, right?
Yes. So our next Fireside Chat is with the chairman of Fort Hotel Group, Mr. Ben Liao. So he's architect by training, but now he's the chairman of Fort Hotel Group. And we're going to ask him questions about the hospitality industry and what he thinks the youth should focus on to make sure that the future of hospitality is secure.
We should ask him about
another
season 2, right?
Yeah, we want to ask him about tech and stuff like that.
Yeah, he has some bike thing that he's doing.
Yeah.
So we should ask him about that.
Another architect. Another architect, yeah.
Our CFO was wanted to be an architect. I think his parents were like, no, there's no money in it.
He's right, probably is.
Yeah, there are a lot of architects in the tourism industry. So many of us.
Anyway, it's fun, right? I mean, architecture doesn't sound too much fun, but hey, if you enjoy it, right?
It's one of the career paths that creatives do.
Yes, that's right.
And then as we end the week, we're back with another live experience, and it's a cooking demo of Malaysian cuisine. Again, this is sponsored by Tourism Malaysia. It's from Ribung Restaurant, owned by famous chef Dato Ismail Ahmad. So please, you'll have a chance to experience some local delicacies. So please, well, you won't have a chance to experience it, but
experience it through the screen.
With your eyes. So please do join us next week. It's a great schedule. As Alethea had said, you can see the full schedule on our Dream to Travel website under the calendar. Next week is Malaysia. That'll be followed by Nepal, and then we'll end the festival with Macau. So hope to see all of you guys next week. And again, thank you, Dr. Rifai, for joining us for the Fireside Chat.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Taleb. It's been a pleasure.
Can we have a copy? Can we have a copy of those, please?
Yes,
I will send it to you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much. I would love to. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna be hungry next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you,
life
Karma.
experiences always make us hungry in the office as we watch.
You know, we have a saying in our country that says, "The eyes eat before the stomach."
It's very true in this situation.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so we're going to end the session right now. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Taleb. It's been a wonderful session. It's such a pleasure to meet you. And I hope to meet you in person one day soon.
We will come to Jordan. You have to fulfill your bucket list. Definitely.
Shall we plan a trip there now?
Bye-bye.
Yeah, we're planning a trip to Jordan now.
We're going to go
Bye.
see you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Karma. Bye.
Bye, Dr. Taleb.